the 1950s, the most beautiful woman in the world was Marilyn Monroe. Not only was she funny, she was a dream, an angel. In 1959, Billy Wilder released his movie, Some Like It Hot. She was a dream. Like every other man in America, or maybe a lot of women, we all wanted to be with her. In 1960, I moved down from Maine to Boston, and my mother enrolled me in a Catholic school, St. Mary of the Foothills. Our hometown was south of the Neponset River. On the other side was Boston. When JFK was elected, defeating Richard Nixon, we were ebullient. Because we were all Irish. For the first time, we had someone of our own in there, and someone who was different. Now, during that period, none of us knew that JFK was sleeping with every woman he could. But we sort of figured it out when she sang Happy Birthday to him at Madison Square Garden. JFK and I share the same birthday, May 29th. I thought she was singing it to me. But people in that era didn't accept people sleeping around. And JFK's main squeeze was a mafia mistress, Judith Exeter Campbell. And actually, Marilyn was the beard. You know, they could accept Marilyn. They couldn't accept a mobster's girlfriend. I can remember what I wore every day to school, because we had uniforms. A blue tie, white shirt, dark blue trousers. Marilyn sadly died in 1962 in Hollywood. The cause of death, barbiturates, overdose. In November, it was on the 22nd, 1963, Sister Mary Superior came over the intercom with a tearful voice and said, John F. Kennedy has been shot in Dallas. Shot, American president shot. How did this happen? None of us knew. And he died in Dallas that day. The police caught someone, Lee Harvey Oswald, a communist sympathizer. They brought him to the jail, and he was shot by Jack Ruby, who owned a strip club. It all fit in. Lee Harvey Oswald was up in the Texas Book Depository. He pulled off a couple of shots, and we all accepted that. Even the Warren Commission, which investigated thoroughly, came up and said he was the single gunman. But it didn't take long for other things to come out to light. One, people heard shots from the grassy knoll. Number two, Lee Harvey Oswald was a good shot and a Marine, but the gun he was using, it was almost physically impossible to pull off three shots, or even two. And then there was the single bullet theory, where one bullet passed through JFK's body and then hit the governor, John F. Connally. And people died, and people disappeared. And the story of the lone gunman, we didn't start to accept that anymore. Now, But there was no investigation in America. Once the end is written, the end is written, unless there's a sequel. Years later, I'm down in the Cape and I read this book by Norman Mailer, Tough Guys Don't Dance. And there was one line in it that all of a sudden opened up my eyes to who killed JFK and how. One of the things you have to understand is that Norma Jean was the illegitimate daughter of a mafia mobster. She made it in Hollywood and changed her name. And all of a sudden I started seeing things that nobody knew about and putting pieces together of a puzzle without any instructions. One, I realized that JFK wasn't sleeping with Marilyn. Two, that Marilyn hadn't died from barbiturates. Someone had killed her. And I started to form this theory. And the theory was that JFK was badly lagging in the polls for the '64 presidential election. And he had to get rid of Marilyn. So he sent his brother Bobby over to get rid of Marilyn. But instead, Bobby falls in love with her and says to his brother, I'm gonna leave my wife for Marilyn. He says, you can't do that. This is one family. We have to show one family, otherwise I won't get elected. Bobby looked at us. I've always done everything for you. Everything. For once, I want to do something for me and for Marilyn. JFK explains this to J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover says, we'll take care of this. He and his boyfriend, Charles Colson, fly out to LA, probably wore dresses and went in and murdered Marilyn. Bobby Kennedy came in during it and beat the shit out of both of them, almost killing them. They begged for mercy. And he said, it wasn't us who ordered this killing, it was your brother. He says, why? Because he wants to win the election. Bobby is just like, the woman I love, my brother killed the woman I love. And he sat there. And one thing about the Irish, we like our revenge cold. Now, as I said, JFK was having problems at the polls. And he had the best and the brightest all around, trying to figure out what they could do to boost him in the eyes of America. And as everybody says different things, but finally Bobby raises his hand and says, I've got the idea. We stage a fake assassination attempt. We get the CIA to do it, put in some fake bullets, everybody, then you're a hero, you survived an assassination attempt. No way in America they won't vote for a hero. Joe, his father, doesn't like this plan, but he's already had a stroke, so he's just sitting there. And they vote yes for this. Now, Bobby puts a plan in place. And he goes out to visit the mafia mobster. You cocksucker, what are you doing here, you fucking filthy Irish cocksucker? He says, I have something to tell you. I know who killed your daughter. And Bobby explains it, and the guy, once again, revenge. Well, the Italians are a little more hot-headed, but they're willing to do it and do it quickly. But it takes planning. And what they do is they get the plans for the president for the next year, and they say, we're gonna do it in Dallas. We have people down there, we can arrange everything. And we have a sucker. In this stuff, you need a sucker. And we have the CIA on that bridge behind the grassy knoll. And they're gonna be shooting blanks. So it's just, the day comes and John F. Kennedy's in the limousine, in the back seat. Jackie's next to him, John Conley and his wife, and right before them. It's a Chrysler Imperial. And they turn down the grassy knoll. And a shot rings out, hitting him in the head. You can see him going forward as you see him go back actually, and blood coming out of his head, like a propulsion of a rocket. Jackie scrambles on the roof to get his brain. Another shot rings out. The CIA people don't know what's happening, and they pull off a shot. And then they run. Lee Harvey Oswald was never in the building. But the mafia put a gun there, the Mauser. And he's killed. Lee Harvey Oswald's killed that night. He can't confess, he can't say anything. And Bobby gets his revenge. But he still had to live without Marilyn. And he probably died loving her. We all did.